How streaming sticks made cable boxes expensive dinosaurs. Picture this. It's 2013, and somewhere in America, a cable technician is drilling holes in your wall to install a clunky black box that costs $15 a month to rent. The cable box weighs 3 pounds, takes 2 minutes to boot up, and has a user interface that looks like it was designed in 1995. Meanwhile, across town, someone just bought a Roku stick for $59 that weighs less than an ounce, plugs directly into any TV, and gives them access to thousands of shows and movies instantly. This wasn't just a product comparison. It was David meeting Goliath, and the slingshot was loaded with silicon chips and streaming algorithms. What happened next would obliterate an entire rental ecosystem worth over $20 billion annually, and leave cable companies scrambling to justify why customers should pay premium prices for inferior technology. The cable box, once the undisputed gatekeeper of home entertainment, was about to become the most expensive paperweight in television history. The streaming stick revolution began quietly in 2008 when Roku launched their first device, but the real devastation started in 2013 when these tiny dongles hit critical mass. Cable companies had grown fat and lazy, charging customers monthly rental fees for set-top boxes that cost them maybe $30 to manufacture, but generated hundreds in recurring revenue per device. Comcast alone collected over $6 billion annually just from equipment rental fees, with the average customer paying $180 per year to rent a box that barely functioned better than a VCR. The cable box ecosystem was built on artificial scarcity. You couldn't access premium channels without their proprietary hardware, and switching boxes between rooms required additional rental fees and technician visits. Then streaming sticks arrived, offering something revolutionary. A $5 monthly subscription to Netflix gave you more content than most cable packages, delivered through a device that cost less than a single month of cable box rental. By 2014, Roku had sold over 8 million devices. Amazon launched the Fire TV stick for $39, and Google introduced Chromecast for $35. The writing was on the wall, but cable companies were too busy counting rental fees to read it. The technical superiority of streaming sticks over cable boxes wasn't even close. It was like comparing a Tesla to a horse-drawn carriage. Cable boxes in 2013 typically had processors slower than smartphones from 2010, often featuring single-core chips running at 600 megahertz with 1 gigabyte of storage. Meanwhile, streaming sticks packed quad-core processors, modern operating systems, and interfaces that responded instantly to user commands. A typical cable box took 90 seconds to fully boot up, while streaming sticks were ready in 15 seconds. The Roku 3, released in 2013, had a processor 3 times faster than most cable boxes and supported 1080p streaming when many cable boxes were still stuck at 720p. Cable companies had zero incentive to innovate because customers were locked into contracts and had no alternatives. Why invest in better hardware when people would pay regardless? The contrast became embarrassing when customers realized they could navigate Netflix's entire library in the time it took their cable box to switch channels. By 2015, streaming sticks supported 4K video, voice search, and mobile app integration, while cable boxes were still using infrared remotes and menu systems that looked like relics from the dial-up era. The user experience gap between streaming sticks and cable boxes grew into a chasm that swallowed customer loyalty whole. Cable boxes required professional installation, often involving drilling holes, running coaxial cables, and scheduling appointments during business hours when customers had to take time off work. Streaming sticks plugged into any HDMI port and were configured in minutes using a smartphone app. Cable boxes came with channel guides that took 10 seconds to load and displayed a confusing grid of numbered channels mixed with premium offerings you didn't subscribe to. Streaming platforms offered personalized recommendations, instant search across all content, and the ability to pause a show in one room and resume it in another. When cable boxes glitched, which happened frequently, customers had to call technical support and potentially schedule another technician visit. When streaming sticks had issues, users could restart them in 30 seconds or factory reset them in 2 minutes. The psychological impact was profound. Streaming sticks made users feel empowered and in control, while cable boxes made them feel trapped in an overpriced, underperforming ecosystem. A 2016 American Customer Satisfaction Index study ranked cable companies dead last in customer satisfaction, with equipment issues being the primary complaint, while streaming services dominated the top rankings. Cable companies initially dismissed streaming sticks as toys for tech enthusiasts, completely missing the tidal wave about to hit them. Comcast CEO Brian Roberts famously said in 2014 that streaming was complementary to cable, not competitive, while customers were quietly canceling subscriptions in droves. Time Warner Cable executives insisted that their cable boxes offered superior reliability and customer support, ignoring the fact that their support calls were primarily about broken or slow equipment. The numbers told a different story. Netflix surpassed HBO in subscribers in 2013, cord cutting accelerated from 2 million households in 2014 to 6 million in 2016, and streaming device sales exploded from 15 million units in 2013 to 43 million in 2017. Cable companies had trained customers to accept terrible user experiences for decades, but streaming sticks revealed how good television could actually be. A family could buy 4 streaming sticks for the price of 3 months of cable box rentals and access more content than any cable package offered. The value proposition was so lopsided that cable companies began quietly developing their own streaming apps, essentially admitting that their proprietary hardware was unnecessary. By 2017, even Comcast launched a streaming service, tacitly acknowledging that the future didn't require their expensive boxes. The financial destruction was swift and merciless, turning a $20 billion rental bonanza into a desperate attempt to retain fleeing customers. Cable companies derived roughly 20% of their revenue from equipment rental fees, with profit margins exceeding 80% because customers paid monthly for boxes that lasted years. When streaming sticks enabled cord cutting, cable companies didn't just lose subscription revenue, they lost the high-margin equipment income that subsidized their entire business model. Comcast's equipment rental revenue peaked at $6.4 billion in 2016 before beginning its inexorable decline. Traditional pay TV subscriptions dropped from over 100 million in 2013 to under 70 million by 2022, with each lost customer representing roughly $200 in annual equipment fees plus subscription revenue. Meanwhile, streaming services grew from 50 million US subscribers in 2013 to over 400 million across all platforms by 2022. The math was devastating. Netflix generated more revenue than most cable companies while requiring zero proprietary hardware and minimal customer service infrastructure. Roku transformed from a hardware company to an advertising platform, generating over $2 billion annually by 2022, from a business model that made money by making television better, not by holding customers hostage with expensive equipment. Cable companies tried everything to stop the hemorrhaging, but their responses only highlighted how obsolete their technology had become. They launched cloud DVR services that required customers to still rent cable boxes while offering features that streaming services provided for free. They created mobile apps that let customers watch TV on phones and tablets, but still required the cable box to be connected and powered on at home. Some companies began offering streaming device compatibility, but still charged monthly fees for access to premium channels that streaming services bundled into basic subscriptions. Comcast spent billions developing voice remotes and updated interfaces for their cable boxes, trying to match features that streaming sticks had offered for years at a fraction of the cost. The most telling admission came when cable companies started giving away streaming devices to new subscribers while still charging rental fees for traditional cable boxes. Charter Communications began offering free Apple TV units to customers in 2021, essentially paying Apple to replace their own hardware, while desperately trying to retain subscribers with inferior technology. Even these desperate measures failed because customers realized they could get the streaming device benefits without the cable subscription, eliminating both monthly costs entirely. The coup de grace came when smart TVs and gaming consoles eliminated the need for separate streaming devices altogether, making cable boxes even more redundant. By 2020, Virtually every television sold included built-in Netflix, YouTube, and other streaming apps, while PlayStation and Xbox consoles offered comprehensive entertainment platforms that made cable boxes look like museum pieces. Streaming services optimized their apps for every device imaginable, while cable companies struggled to maintain compatibility across their fragmented hardware ecosystem. The final insult arrived when cable companies started advertising their streaming services on competing platforms, essentially paying Amazon and Roku to deliver content that previously required expensive cable boxes. A customer could now access HBO, Showtime, and premium cable content directly through a $30 streaming stick, while cable companies charged $15 monthly just to rent the box, plus subscription fees. The business model collapsed completely when customers realized they could pay less for better service without any proprietary hardware. By 2023, major cable companies were quietly phasing out traditional cable box deployments while pivoting to streaming-only services, effectively admitting that the technology they had charged billions for was completely unnecessary. The streaming stick massacre of cable boxes represents one of the most complete technological obliterations in business history, transforming a $20 billion captive market into a competitive wasteland where customer value actually matters. Cable companies spent decades training customers to accept overpriced, underperforming technology because they controlled the only pathway to premium content. Streaming sticks didn't just offer better technology. They revealed that the entire cable box ecosystem was an artificial barrier designed to extract maximum revenue from trapped customers. The $5 Roku stick that replaced the $15 cable box wasn't just cheaper, it was faster, more reliable, more convenient, and offered access to more content than cable companies provided. This wasn't innovation disrupting an industry. It was innovation obliterating an industry built on technological hostage-taking. The cable box era died not with regulatory changes or market shifts, but with customers simply walking away from inferior experiences once they discovered superior alternatives. Today, mentioning monthly cable box rental fees sounds as absurd as paying extra for email access or charging separately for smartphone apps. The streaming stick revolution proved that in the digital age, no company can indefinitely charge premium prices for obsolete technology, no matter how entrenched their market position appears. Cable boxes didn't just lose to streaming sticks. They revealed that their entire business model was a house of cards built on artificial scarcity and customer ignorance. And once customers glimpsed the future, they never looked back.